What if the secret to success wasn't just talent or hard work, but unshakable confidence? Welcome to Grasp Confidence, the podcast where visionary thought leaders, speakers, and entrepreneurs unlock the mindset and strategies for lasting success. I'm your host, Tara LaFon Gooch, CEO, two-time best-selling author, and international TEDx speaker, and I can't wait to help you step into the most powerful version of yourself. Let's dive in. Not long ago, I was a corporate sales director, unknown, overlooked, no network, and unfulfilled. But when I discovered the power of personal branding, storytelling, and confidence, everything changed. I went from being invisible to a two-time best-selling author, international TEDx speaker, and top global podcast host, reaching thousands every year. And I want the same transformation for you, to be seen, heard, and recognized as the thought leader you truly are. From TEDx stages to top podcasts and even TV segments, I help entrepreneurs, authors, and speakers amplify their message and build unshakable confidence. Visit bestbranding.solutions and let's build your dream together. Dean Otto has worked with some of the world's most iconic brands, from Warner Brothers to Discovery to Paramount Global and even McDonald's, building relationships, leading teams, and driving results at the highest level in corporate. But everything changed in a single moment. Dean's story isn't just about survival, it's about transformation. After a near-fatal accident, he rebuilt not only his body, but his purpose. His message? Finish the ride. The power of belief in action reminds us that belief isn't a feeling. It's a decision we make every single day. In this episode, you will discover how courage, forgiveness, and faith can turn any setback into your greatest comeback. Dean, welcome to the show.
Tara, thanks for having me. It's great to be with you this morning.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, that intro is something.
Well, thank you. It's been a wild ride, Tara. I've been around the block a few times, and I've had some pretty crazy experiences in my life. And corporate life was great to me. My last stop at Braze was wonderful. The software that we have, that my former company has, actually helps orchestrate and personalize digital communications with brands like Warner Brothers Discovery and Paramount Global and McDonald's and Yum Brands. I worked with all those folks. So any email or push notification or in-app messaging, in kiosk, all that stuff is orchestrated so it's more of a personalized and humanized experience for the user. And honestly, COVID was probably the best thing that ever happened to us, because that's the only way people could talk to people for a long time. And it was great. It was a huge spike. Company went public in 2021, and I loved working there. It was hard to leave, but I had a calling.
Wow. You had a calling. So right there, I'm just going to stop you, because so many people are feeling this deep seated urge, this calling right now. And for a lot of folks, you brought in COVID, have been feeling this for a while in the last couple of years, really. And they've been searching and questioning, what is my purpose? What is my calling? And they feel pulled, but a lot of people are still questioning, what is that purpose? What is that calling? Do I have something greater that's meant for me on the other side of whatever this is? So I would love to hear a little bit about that, just right there, because I think right there that resonates with people. How did you know it was more than just a feeling,
Oh,
and that
God.
it was actually a calling that you were being compelled to do?
There's kind of been three callings, Tara, honestly. The first calling, and I'm glad you brought in COVID, because that was definitely some things happened during COVID that brought that calling more to fruition. So uh, about 9 years ago, I was hit from behind by an F-150 truck.
Oh my.
On Providence Road. I was on my bicycle, and I was just doing a daily, run. I'm an athlete, and I like to stay in shape. I think physical conditioning is an important part of how I face the world every day. So I was going for my bike ride. I'd just been on I'd done a half marathon over in London about 5 days prior, and I'd pulled a hamstring. And instead of running, which is what I am, I'm more of a runner than a cyclist. My coach said, Dean, you need to take it easy for about a month and not do any running. So I got on my bike. I was less than a mile and a half from my house, and I got hit from behind by this truck. It shot me about 100 feet in the air. My back was broken in half. I literally was tethered together by my spinal cord. So it was a dislocated back. There was a big hump in my back. I had two shattered vertebrae, my T12 and L1. Then I had the bones within my spinal cord were pushed up against the dura and the spinal cord itself. So it cut off all the blood flow. So I had, from the time of impact, my ticking time bomb was 3 hours. So they had 3 hours to either fix me or I was going to be paralyzed for the rest of my life. Broken pelvis, broken tailbone, broken legs, broken ribs. I was pretty jacked up. But luckily, there was, I don't know, about 7 or 8 sequential miracles that happened one after another. And so we were only 2 miles from the only level 1 trauma center in the region. They got me into and triaged me, figured out what was wrong with me. By the time they did all that, that took about 90 minutes, even though I was only 2 miles away. Think about that. If I was out in the country or something, it would have been a completely different story. There happened to be a guy on call that is probably the only person in the world that could do the surgery that they were going to have to do for me in that amount of time. And he's a gifted guy. I mean, he was Duke undergrad, Duke med school, Johns Hopkins residency, on the faculty at Vanderbilt. I mean, this guy is a genius. He's teaching the world's best neuro surgeons about neurosurgery. So they had to snap me back into place to restore the blood flow. That could have paralyzed me. But look, I didn't know it at the time, Tara, but I had a 2% chance to walk again. That was it. 2%, not much, right? So they had to take some chances with me. And the surgery that they had to perform on me would take a normal human being 4 to 5 hours. But we've got Matt McGirt on the call, right? He's on call. He's there. The rep was there in time from Stryker, and they were able to do the surgery in 90 minutes, which was miraculous. So sitting there in the recovery room, Matt came in and my family was there, and he asked me if I could move anything in my lower extremities. And I mean, my left side was still like totally, I mean, I had nothing. I was completely paralyzed from my belly button down. And I was able to move my big toe. You probably can't even see it, but it was like maybe a centimeter or something. And it was like a Disney movie. We all realized that, I had a chance. So I was in the ICU for 2 days. They kicked me out. I was in the regular hospital for 4 days. They kicked me out. Then they sent me over to the rehabilitation center next door. And I was there for 2 weeks. They tried to kick me out after a week because I am making miraculous, like, divine power, the love of everybody that knew me, all my friends and my family, these brilliant surgeons and nurses and therapists and all of them, they were able to pull off a miracle for me. So 8 days after the surgery, I'm going to kind of fast forward. We got a lot of ground to cover. I was in the rehabilitation center and I walked in and I was doing my normal workout, which there was this ballerina bar that went all the way around the place, a grab bar. And I'm grabbing onto the thing and I'm walking around like, the drunk uncle at the buffet line at a wedding or something, trying to stand up straight. And I look over and I see this guy, and he's a young guy, and his mom's sitting next to him, and her hands are folded. And you could see that he's like hood up, head down, not moving or anything. You could tell he was really bummed out, and his mom was really concerned. She looked at me and she says, "Oh my gosh, what happened to you?" And I said, "Well, I got hit by an F-150 truck." She's like, "Oh my gosh, you were a miracle." I said, "Yeah, I honestly think I am." And then I did something very bold, and in hindsight, it could have been a huge mistake, but might have been the painkillers, might have been me just trying to help the best I can. I looked at her son and I said, "Look, what's your name?" He said, "Julian." He said, I said, well, my name's Dean. I'm 51 years old. And if my broken bag of bones can get up out of that wheelchair, I know you can too.
There was a time when I barely spoke about my faith, but this year I decided to be bolder than ever. God placed a calling on my life, and when I finally embraced it, doors opened. From best selling books to stages, I found the confidence to walk in His purpose. Now I want the same for you. At the From Calling to Confidence Christian Women's Retreat, you'll discover clarity, deepen your faith, and gain the courage to step into your God given calling. This is happening in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico on January 16th through 19th, 2026. And ladies, we have 3 spots left. That's it. So when they're gone, they are gone. Reserve yours today and visit taralafangooch.com/retreat for more information.
So didn't think anything of it. Getting back to the room, I'm like, uh-oh, like what happens if that guy's a complete spinal cord injury? So I took a nap, which my routine was work out in the morning, take a nap, go back and work out in the afternoon. I go back a few hours later, I walk in and Tara, what do I see across the room? I see this guy, Julian, and he's up on the walker taking his very first steps. I mean, I'm still getting goosebumps. Every time I say that, I get goosebumps. And I'm thinking to myself, there's a reason I'm still standing here. Like, I'm supposed to be sharing this story with the world in hopes that I can help people overcome things that they didn't think that they could overcome. And 4 months later, I got asked to speak at Stryker Spine's national sales meeting. They wanted to have they wanted to have somebody on stage that their sales folks could relate to, that had been through a catastrophic thing and had a great outcome. Because all those guys are they're in the operating room and they're with the surgeon during the surgery, but then they never see the finished result. They never see that what they actually do matters. I mean, it matters a lot. Like if that guy wasn't where he was supposed to be and didn't get the equipment to my surgeon on time, I mean, we have minutes to spare. I'm paralyzed from the waist down. So I knew right then, after I got on stage and I just kind of laid my heart out. I had 3 bullet points on a card. I stuck the card in my vest pocket in my jacket, and I never looked at it. And I'm a sales guy. I mean, I get up and talk in front of a lot of folks. It's not a big deal. I was like, man, this is awesome. I feel like Mick Jagger. I want to do this for a living. This is great, And but then I've got 2 kids that are like young and not super young, but they're middle school, high school, and I got to get them through school and get them through college. So I was like, I'm gonna just keep grinding, keep working, selling software, and that's what I did. And then people are coming up to me and they're like, man, you need to like tell the story and whatever. So I ended up laying in the middle of that road, like right after the accident. I've been sober for 16 years. And one of the things that I learned in sobriety was that I couldn't hold resentments. So I knew I had to do 2 things laying in the middle of that road after the accident. Number one, I had to just give this to God. This is bigger than I can handle, and ask for him to, for the best outcome I could get. I prayed for my family because who knows how long they're going to take care of me. I prayed for the doctors to try to put me back together again. And if they couldn't, just to take care of my family. But then the thing that changed everything is I said a prayer of forgiveness for this young man who I'd never met, who wasn't trying to hit me that morning. He was on his way to a football game with his roommate from college. He went to Virginia Tech. They were going to drive up to Blacksburg, like 3.5 hours. And the wildest thing happened to me. All the fear, all the pain, all the resentment, all the panic, it all left my body, Tara, and my heart filled with nothing but love and peace. And it wasn't because everything was going to be okay, because clearly it was not, but I was okay. I knew I was going to be fine. And so through all that I just shared with you, there was no fear. I felt great, So fast forward, we're jumping around a little bit, but I kind of have to pop in and out of this to give you context for everything. So we go on. I'm still selling software. People are chirping in my ear, telling me they need to write the book and share this story. So I do that. But meanwhile, like the hospital's starting to publicize my story. and my story's starting to get some traction in the local media. And so the local media shows up for this 5K run that I'm going to be my comeback race, right? So I can't run until January. I've got 4-level spinal fusion, which I'll just show you. Yeah,
Wow.
we have examples here. So these rods and these screws were put into my back, and this connector keeps those things apart. And then they ground down some of these little shark fins that you see that are on your spine, and they mix that with cement and they pack that all in there. And then that's all fused together. So that's all in one piece. So I'm pushing the envelope on doing like everything. I'm making a miraculous comeback. I'm doing things that they didn't think could be done. And I'm probably doing some things that I shouldn't be doing. But I serendipitously run into Will Huffman, the man that was driving the truck, like on a January morning in Charlotte, North Carolina, a trail. He's out walking his dog with his wife. And he's like, "Oh my God, Dean, how you doing?" And we'd already had dinner, and he had come to say to forgive me, and I'd already forgiven him. We had so much in common. We struck up a great relationship. He's a great young man. He was 27 at the time. He'd just gotten married. Just a great guy. I didn't want to screw up his life.
Mhm.
He just, so we were able to connect, and I challenged him and his wife to run a 5K with me. And they were like, "Okay, if you're going to run, we're going to run." So they ran, and I beat them. And it was like, oh my God. But the local reporter, Michelle Bowden here for the NBC affiliate here in Charlotte, she did a story on me. She's also a freelance writer for people.com. So she posted the story. The story ran on the NBC affiliate here. All 200 NBC affiliates picked it up across the country. She posted my story on people.com. It went viral. Then it got crazy. Then over the next, I guess, 4 or 5 months, we were on the Ellen Show, we were on the Today Show, we were on the 700 Club. I was in the New York Post, I was in Runner's World, I was on the front page of the Charlotte Observer, we were on the front page of the Napa Valley Register. And the reason why we were on the front page of the Napa Valley Register is because in the recovery room, I challenged my doctor, Matt McGirt, to run a half marathon with me on that 1-year anniversary date of my accident. And he accepted. And he's like thinking to himself, like, there's no way in hell this guy's ever going to be able to run again, walk again. I mean, he'd already prepared my family for life in a wheelchair. So he's like, he's probably not going to remember this, and he's definitely not going to be able to do this. So I think I'm going to be okay. Well, little did he know, 4 weeks after my accident, I walked into his office and he's like, oh my God, I guess this guy's serious. So he started training. And just the guy that Matt is, I mean, Matt and I were supposed to be on stage together at that Stryker National Sales meeting, but Matt missed it so he could run the Charleston half marathon, so he could prove to himself that he could do it and hold up his end of the bargain. So as beautiful as this story is about, my comeback and the physical comeback, the forgiveness piece was huge. I mean,
Mm.
this fire, and it was really, this wasn't me doing all this. This is 3 guys that were put in incredibly tense and tough situations that all came together, helped each other out, and rose together. And that's really the beautiful part of the story, that we all leaned into something that was uncomfortable, and we were able to make the best out of it. So I challenged Matt to run this half marathon with me. We're going to use the publicity of the race to raise a bunch of money for spinal cord patients, which we did. We raised almost $100,000 for this foundation, Atrium Health Foundation. And the ride called Cycle to the Sea is actually next Thursday we start. So we do this every year. And me and a bunch of guys on bikes and women on bikes and quadriplegics and paraplegics, they're on hand cycles. So we got the easy part, man. We're on a regular bicycle. These people are literally crawling 60 miles a day, 3 straight days from Charlotte, North Carolina to North Myrtle Beach to fund the programming for ASAP, which stands for Adaptive Sports and Adventures Program, part of Atrium Health Foundation. And I've been involved with that ever since. So that was one of the callings. But then there were 2 other callings. The second calling was during COVID, and there was no airplanes flying. There was no traffic outside. And I was sitting outside on my patio, and it was super quiet on a Friday evening. I was just kind of sitting out there enjoying, listening to the quietness and the night and the stillness. And it dawned on me, and I was like, Dean, do you want to like sell software for the rest of your life, or do you want to do something that's impactful that can change people's lives? And I decided right then and there that eventually that's what I wanted to do. So that was the catalyst to finish writing the book that I'd started writing several years earlier on vacation on my phone in an airport, waiting for my son to come in from a delayed flight. He got delayed and diverted, and I had to take a ferry over to this island to come get him, and then come back. And so I had like 2.5 hours, and I wrote like 3 chapters of the book then. So that was like the second calling. Then the third calling, and we have more toys to show. The third calling happened on May 31st of last year, not this past year. And I was head down working on a huge renewal for my biggest client. And so I was stressed out. I was working like 12, 15 hours a day for several weeks on end. And I had a very close friend that was coming to town from Kentucky, where I grew up. And he was on his way to Hilton Head, which Charlotte's on the way down there. And I was like, I haven't seen you forever. Why don't you just come by and spend the night? We'll have some steaks and grill out and giggle and have some fun. And he said, that sounds great. So they came down. I was like, well, I got to get a quick workout in before he gets here. So I run back upstairs and I crank out a Peloton. And then he gets here, put on some music. They're having wine. Everybody's having fun. We're laughing, telling stories. So as we're finishing up dinner, Tara, I all of a sudden started feeling really strange. I was feeling lightheaded, and the lights would get really bright and the lights would get dark. The lights would get really bright, the lights would get dark. And then finally it got to the point where I was like, man, I got to go lay down. So I was getting up, and I was literally right behind me in the breakfast room. And I was getting up, and I blacked out. I fainted. I fell to the ground. Luckily, my wife and my buddy's wife were able to lower me to the ground so I didn't like hit my head or anything. But I then had 3 back-to-back seizures. No history of them. Never had a seizure in my life. No family history of it. No idea. So ambulance comes. They take me to the hospital. I'll spend the night in the hospital. They want me to stay all weekend. And the power goes out while at the hospital, of course. So none of their systems work. They can't get any of my tests scheduled. So I'm like, look, I'll come back, do all the tests you want me to do, but I'm going home. So they released me. I went home. I got all the tests scheduled. They ended up putting this thing in my chest, which is a heart monitor. That was in there for like 6 months. It was implanted, underneath my breast muscle above my rib cage, and nothing. I mean, they couldn't find anything. I had a ambulatory EEG where they literally glued 24 wires to my head, do-rag over my head. I had to wear that around for 72 hours to see that. Echocardiograms, EKGs, you name it, every test known to man, blood work, everything, they find nothing. So the conclusion from all the cardiologists and the neurologists was threefold. One, it was a perfect storm of A, I was stressed out. B, I was probably dehydrated because I like to keep 3 or 4 of these things around and drink water all day. But then I also have a runner's heart because of all the cardio I do. So my resting heart rate's really low. It's like 42. And my brain can trick my heart into thinking that it can take a beat off because it moves blood around so efficiently. So if that happens, your resting heart rate goes from 42 to 21, and that's what puts you on the ground, and that's what put me in the hospital. But, I'm okay. I made it. But it was that was like, I've had all these little whispers in my ear, these little God shots, I like to call them, about, you should really be telling the story, Dean. You should be telling the story. You should be telling the story. That was like the baseball bat to my forehead. It was like, wake up, dude. What do you like? I've been telling you this for like 8.5 years. Why aren't you listening? And that shook me. And I looked at my wife, Beth. I was like, what am I doing?
I love that.
I'm doing great. I'm having, it's a great career. We're making a lot of money, all that kind of stuff. I love working here. I love the people, but man, this is like killing me. So we got to make a change. Sorry, that's a
Wow.
long answer to your question, but there were three separate parts of what got me here.
And it makes me think of the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, where he says, for every adversity, for every failure, there's a seed of equal or greater benefit.
Mm.
And I think about that one line every single day. And it helps me to reframe any failure, any adversity, any obstacle as what is within this obstacle, what is in within this adversity that is a seed of greater benefit. And your story is an extremely powerful one. It's
Thank you.
it was against all odds. We can call it a miracle in a lot of respects. I think the lesson of the story, the lesson of that circumstance, of that adversity, was forgiveness. And it's powerful because I have a forgiveness story of my own.
I love that.
And I can testify to the power of forgiveness. I grew up, as many people who have listened to this episode or read my first book, I grew up with an abusive alcoholic father. I hadn't seen him since I was 14 years old.
Mm,
And for a long time, I had a lot of resentment.
yes.
I felt like, why me? Or that I was even a mistake. And I didn't understand why that was my reality. And it wasn't until, truthfully, it was just a few months before my birthday this year, I decided I I forgive 100%. I bear no resentment, no ill will, and I actually wrote him a letter and I mailed it to him.
Beautiful.
Can I tell you something?
You can.
I am so grateful that I did that. And the young man who hit you, of course, we know that was an accident.
Right.
But I loved what you said, that you didn't want to ruin his life
Right.
and you wanted him to go on. And honestly, without your forgiveness, he would still be living on that day, wouldn't he?
Oh my
And
God.
still be saying to himself, why did I do this? And who knows what would happen to him? Would that have led to severe depression? I mean, we just don't know. But your act of grace and extending that changed his life, not only his, but your own as well in the
Right.
situation.
Yeah, that's interesting, Tara. And this is going to sound kind of weird, but it's the truth. So I never would have been able to forgive him had I not changed my life 16 years ago and
Yeah.
quit drinking. And,
Wow. Good for
and
you.
thank you. In my journey, I learned that I can't have resentments, right?
Yeah.
Resentment can lead to a drink, and a drink could kill a guy like me. So it was the conditioning for me that allowed me to be able to do that. I think in order for us to be happy, productive, both at work and at home, we need to be constantly conditioning ourselves in four distinct areas. The first of which for me is physical conditioning. So I can tell you without any doubt, if I was not in the kind of shape that I was in when that accident happened, I'm not walking, like 100% sure. I mean, all the doctors said the same thing. They're like, wow, like you were in such great shape. The bones were in great shape. You took a hard lick. Had a horrible concussion, all those other things, but I was in great physical shape. And I need to be in great physical shape to keep my mind clear. I mean, I did an hour walk and a 15-minute quick get my heart rate up Peloton this morning, just because that's the way to start my day, right? So I know I've got to be strong and I've got to be my mind clear and being able to think straight. Then I think we have to like be working on our mental conditioning. So what are we always doing to hone our craft, get better at it, be intellectually curious, learn new things, have different interests? Then I think I need to always be working on my emotional conditioning. And I equate emotional conditioning, Tara, to community. So we all have different interests and different things that, get us excited and out of bed, that give us joy. What are we doing to build those communities in our life? Importantly, so when you get hit by a truck, people are there for you, right? I mean, I had people coming out of the woodwork for me, filling my freezer full of food, coming and mowing the grass, taking out my garbage, cleaning out my garage. It was unbelievable. That doesn't happen if I'm not constantly working on those different communities, right? But the beautiful part of the community is not the people coming to help me, it's when they're in trouble. And I can return the favor and I can go to them and I can help them in their time of need, because nothing gives me and most human beings that I know more joy than helping another human being. It's just the greatest feeling in the world. And then lastly, and honestly, this is, it's, I would say always the most overlooked, but I would say it's probably the most important. It's spiritual conditioning. So what am
Absolutely.
I doing in the morning to start my day right? Prayer, meditation, reading, connecting with other people. What am I doing to build my spiritual life?
Hmm.
Because if I don't have that, I mean, the joke is I think God got me drunk to get me sober so I could find God. You know, because I have no idea what the plan is, man. I'm just here for the ride. And God chooses how things, you know, pan out. I'm just responsible for my attitude, my actions. I got to show up with a great attitude, and I've got to take that belief that I have and activate it and do something. So,
Wow. That's all the formula really for success. And, you know, we have a pretty shallow definition of success in this world. We think of success as monetary, as how many zeros are in our bank account,
right,
as our title, as the car we drive, as who's in our contact list. And all of that is so empty. But when we have success in all areas of life, and that's success with our spirituality, our connection with God, our connection with our higher power, our connection with others, our connection with self, that's true success.
that's right. I believe that. And it doesn't matter what religion you are.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. What matters is that I shouldn't say you, for me, what matters for me is that I have to try to live my life with a sense of humility, that there's something out there that's more powerful than me, that makes the sun go up and the moon come up and the stars keep from running from each other, running into each other. There's something out there that's controlling that. And I don't have to ever understand it, but I just have to acknowledge it and acknowledge that I am not that power. I am not it. That's the thing I do know. I'm not it.
That's right. Oh my gosh, so true. I call it bookend my days. So I start my day with an expression of gratitude. I start my day with prayer, and I end my day the same way.
Absolutely.
And then don't be afraid to, all day long, talk to the creator. It's the longest relationship any of us have ever had with anyone.
That's right.
And I think we forget about that. But in the Bible, it says in Jeremiah and in Psalms that the God that created us all knew us before we were formed in the womb. So this is the longest standing relationship we've ever had. Don't be afraid to take it.
Right. I love that.
Yeah.
I
It's
love that.
powerful. It's
It is.
powerful. Dean, such a blessing to interview you today. I love your story. It's so impactful and powerful. And I know that there's people listening to this right now who maybe they haven't been hit by a truck, but maybe they've been hit by something once. And they're feeling like a victim and they're unsure and they don't know what next steps to take. What advice would you have for somebody like that?
As I mentioned, we always revert to our training, Tara. So if if you don't have a spiritual relationship with whatever your higher power is, you don't have anything to lean on. So We have to develop. I mean, the things that I just talked about, the conditioning is the most important thing they can do, because we never know when we're going to get hit by the truck. You can't just pop out of the box and understand like how to take on a task like this. These are things that you have to live every day and prepare for every day, and condition yourself for every day. So when they do come, you're ready. So my advice is start doing all those things. Start taking care of your body. Start being curious. Start building your community of support and supporting your community, and find something more powerful than you to help give you some peace and some love and some faith. I mean, I think whatever your higher power is, I think that's love. And I think, fear is the opposite of that. It's the absence of God or any higher power. So if you can fill your heart with your higher power, you don't have anything to be worried about. It all goes away. I mean, that's been my literal experience. Like, I can tell you, that's the truth.
Absolutely. The truth in my own life as well. I love that. Dean, where can everybody learn more about you and where can they look you up online?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, Dean Otto. I've got a website, deanottospeaking.com. I've got a speaker reel that's got, footage of me. It's got footage of me on the Ellen Show, the Today Show. The full stories are all on my website. You can also go to Amazon and find my book, which is called 2% Chance, and just search on Dean Otto 2%, and you'll find it. It's a very easy read. It's 100 pages. It's sort of a memoir. I talk a little bit about the backstory, but I tell the story from 3 different perspectives before I go through exactly what happened, and I tell it from my perspective, obviously, but very importantly, and I think the person that had the toughest job was Will Huffman, the man that hit me. I tell him, like that morning, like from his perspective, what was going on. Then I tell the story from my wife's perspective, which probably had the second hardest job, because there's her provider, love of her life, and he's probably going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. I tell it from her perspective. Then I tell it from the doctor's perspective, Matt McGirt, neurosurgeon that saved me. And, I actually probably had the easiest job, to be honest with you, because I didn't see what was coming. I just had to do what they told me to do with everything I could and trust the process, and trust God. I mean, I'm an athlete and I'm a type A personality, and I'm going to give it all. I mean, again, going back to the 2 things that I can control are my attitude and my actions. I can take a hula hoop, Tara, and I could drop it over my head in the space between my chest and the inside of that hula hoop. That's about all I can control. Everything else is something beyond what I can control. So if I can be positive about things and have an infectious attitude of positivity, that's huge for me. So
Uh,
that's that's a little bit about me and where you can find me. And I speak to corporations and associations and leadership groups and share my story. Again, forgiveness is a huge piece of it, but it's really, there's 3 pillars of my story. There's the courage part, the conditioning part, and the commitment part. Now, the courage part, I mean, can you imagine being the guy that ran me over? I mean, he sought me out through Facebook to find me. He found my coach. My coach called my wife. My wife said, "This guy wants to come see you." And I was like, "Do we really want to do that?" And then she's like, "Come on, Dean." I'm like, "Of course I want to see him." I was a little selfish at the point. I was like, "I've already forgiven him. Do I really need to see him again?" Then I'm like, "No, I got to clear this guy's conscience." And I did. And it was great. But yeah, I lost my train of thought, Tara. I'm sorry.
no, I think it's powerful. Seek Dean out. Connect with him on LinkedIn. Go to his website. Buy his book. It's an easy read. Be inspired. Listen, any of us can go from victim to victor in our own story.
Like that.
And I think it's time to take back the pen. Guys, if you're feeling like, why is everyone against me? Why is this happening to me? Just remember, this is normal. It's called living, right? It's part of our human experience. But we can take back the pen anytime. We can choose forgiveness. We can choose courageousness. We can choose to continue and in the face of adversity, even when all odds are against us. All of these things are choices. And the more choices we make in that courageous direction, the muscle just continues to grow.
That's right.
And it's a compound effect, just like interest in the bank.
That's right. And I
It's
remembered my train of thought.
go ahead.
We
Yeah.
got to go to the other two pillars. I like blanked out for a second. I forgot where I was going. I'm going back to the conditioning part, Tara.
Yep.
That is so critical in all of our
Yeah.
lives. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual conditioning. Don't have the outcome with practicing all those things at the same time. And then commitment. I mean, I had a guy that had heart condition, Will Huffman, the guy that was driving the truck, also has a heart condition. So running's not only a risk for him, it could be downright dangerous. But he committed to do that run with me when I asked him to do it. Matt was a sprinter at Duke, but he never like ran more than 4 miles in his life. And he committed in that hospital to get outside of his comfort zone to do something different. And that's what it's all about. It's about leaders that can not just lead, but be able to come like lean back, reach their arm back, and bring people with them for the ride so they can finish the ride together. That's the most important part. We talked about finish the ride. And if I can take just a second to tell you what that story is all about, when I was 11 years old, my dad and I did this bicycle ride called the Horizontal 100 in Findlay, Ohio. 100-mile bicycle ride, flat as a pancake. You got to do it in 12 hours or less. I was 12 years old. I was like in sixth grade, right? So we get to about mile 80, and I've been staring at my dad's big sweaty butt for the last 6 hours or so, and I'm spent. You know, that thing about cornfield humidity, it's true. It's flat, it's hot. It was 90 something degrees. It was 90+% humidity. And my dad was going to just get a drink of water and go finish the ride. And I was like, man, I'm kind of smoked. So I went and hid for a few minutes under the tree. I found out a thing about this thing called a sag wagon, which stands for support and gear. So it's basically an air conditioned van that takes you to the start finish line if you have a broken equipment or a broken spirit. So I've decided in my head that I'm going to wait for that. But dad had already taken off and he thought I was right behind him. He gets a few hundred yards down the road, realizes I'm not there. He turns around. He hightails it back to where I am. He sort of levitates off of his bike, honestly, storms over to where I am. He looks at me and he says, Dean, get your butt back on that bike. We are going to finish this ride. And that's what I did. I got back on that bike and I finished the ride. Not really what I wanted to do. My butt felt like somebody shot it with a 10, 12 gauge. It was all torn up. But I finished the bike ride. And not only did I do that, but I learned a lifelong lesson about finishing what you start. And so my comeback, everything that I do in my life, that lesson has stuck with me. It's like, you got to finish, you got to finish, you got to finish. And anyway, that's just a quick little story that I think is super impactful. And I talk about it in a lot more detail when I speak to corporations and associations, but I thought that was important for the message that we're trying to get across today.
I love that. Finish what you start. If we could all do that, how much more successful would we all become? It's really not complicated. And all of this is so impactful and so timely as well, Dean, because again, so many people, they're searching. They're searching for their purpose, they're searching for their calling, they're unsure what their next move is. Sometimes the seed of your calling is in the area of your life that had adversity in it, where you felt maybe like a victim. Maybe you felt like a failure. There
Sure.
may be something there that is very purposeful that can help elevate others and save other people's lives. Maybe you can change somebody's life. It's really important because our purpose might just come in the most unexpected ways. But I love that, Dean. What a powerful story. We're both in North Carolina. We're definitely going to have to meet up for lunch.
I would love to. That would
My,
be great. Have some Lexington barbecue.
come on down to my side of the town. I love
Sounds
that.
great. Sounds great.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for everyone who tuned into this episode of Grasp Confidence Podcast today. Guys, we are at 1.5K reviews on Spotify. So keep the love coming. We could use some attention and some love on Apple. We would love it. So let us know in a review on Apple what's your favorite takeaway from this episode of Dean Otto. What was it? Was it forgiveness? That was my biggest takeaway. Was it purpose? Was it following your calling? Was it corporate handcuffs? What was it? Let us know in the comments, and we will see you on the next episode. Take care.